Welcome to the Pain-Free Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Dana Jones. I am a certified personal trainer, and I'm here to help you achieve your fitness goals without pain. In each episode, I'll share tips and strategies that will help you stay safe and pain-free while you're working out. I'll also interview experts in the field of fitness and pain management. So if you're ready to learn how to stay active and pain-free, then subscribe to the Pain-Free Athlete Podcast today. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Pain-Free Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Dana Jones, and today I am joined by Shamekka Marty. Shamekka is doing important work through Beyond the Game Health, and this conversation is going to go beyond performance and into the bigger picture of health equity, body care, and what it really means to take care of yourself as an athlete and a high performer. Welcome to the show, Shamekka.
Thank you, Dana. Welcome, everybody else that's here. If you're just here for the first time, welcome.
This is going to be a good one, I'm sure. We love talking to each other, two Jersey girls at our heart.
Oh, yes. The Jersey connection in the Bay.
Yep. It's kind of crazy, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So I talked a little bit about what you do, but your story is a lot bigger than that. Why don't you share with who you are and how you came to Beyond the Game Health?
Well, I'm just a small girl from a small town in South Jersey. I usually say to everybody, first thing is I'm from the Philadelphia area because we were so close to Philadelphia. Nobody has ever heard of Williamstown, New Jersey. So shout out there. They made me. And I moved here about 11 years now. And the reason being, this is the beginning here, is I have lupus and 14 other autoimmune conditions that overlap. And at that time, I was going through a very rough time. My mother had passed away from the same disease. She passed away at the age of 44, and I started to advocate, but the winters were getting worse and it was making my body ultimately deteriorate a lot more. So my husband actually had been stationed here in Vacaville for the Air Force. And he's like, look, I already have a job. I've had a job, but I think now is the perfect time for you to consider moving because I think it'll help out your health because every day my hands would be deteriorating in return from white to purple to black, which is called Raynaud's. And so we moved and I took my next journey, my next level of patient healthcare. I am a cybersecurity project manager by trade. So in that, I was doing a lot of advocacy work. I worked with the Autism Foundation. I was also affiliated with the Lupus Foundation of America when I lived over there as well. And I wanted to make sure that I could make more of an impact because I kept seeing there's so many gaps. And on top of that, I'm a huge sports fan. So everything Philly, I'm not an obnoxious Philly fan, but I am a Philly fan that I had season tickets. And so put those two things together. When you have season tickets, you get invited to a lot of different special events. I could get a chance to talk with the athletes. And I just see stuff that happens on in the background before they actually run through that tunnel, especially for a basketball game. I would be in the tunnel and I see what they're going through, the things that the fans really don't see. And so I just kept thinking about how can I get more awareness out there? There's so many people out there that are suffering in silence. And then on top of that, the athletes. So I started getting more involved, not only with that, and then also with the athletes and integrating all of my gifts to say, all right, I'm going to do something about this. And the time just wasn't right. I was going through my health journey. I had a kidney transplant. I was trying to make sure I was a very present mom. And it stumbled upon, the economy last year, where after I have so many different avenues in the healthcare space, because I started being a patient influencer, that it was like, okay, they're laying off our entire team and asking people if they want to take a voluntary severance pay and go ahead and just, leave the company. And at that time, it was like, okay, I could either look for another job or I can do something about it. God allowed me to get a kidney transplant. I have another chance at life. What can I do to get other people to acknowledge the things that are happening? And I've seen the gaps in the healthcare space, not only with regular people, but also with the athletes. And I started off with doing Beyond the Game Health because it is beyond the game. On top of that, when you get a chance to talk to the athletes, not only the physical pain, but the mental pain of who am I after the game? What can I do? Am I still useful? I have the knack for just thinking outside of the box and saying, okay, I can create these opportunities, couple it with a lot of these healthcare systems, pharmaceutical companies. And there are plenty of players that are out there that have health conditions that they kind of hide, but we can highlight that and also empower the rest of the youth to know you are beyond your diagnosis. And basically that's the long and short of it. I'm known online as Pretty Sick Lupus Chick, but Other than that, when I do things with Beyond the Game Health, I'm the CEO and founder. We do health center events. We educate kids from all ages, especially infiltrating NIL because now they're getting a lot of money that wasn't available back then. What does that look like? And then taking it behind the scenes. All the people that retire at 35 have the bodies of 65-year-olds. What do we do with that? None of them put anything away. So we want to tell everyone that's getting all this money with NIL, put some money away just in case, because nothing is guaranteed. There could be a game ending injury. You can get hurt just going to the grocery store. We have to cover all the bases.
That's amazing because I know prior when we met before this interview, you and I were talking about just the transition from college to life because not everybody's going to be a professional player, that sometimes players don't know about things about even their own healthcare because, when you're in college, you go to the health center and they'll take care of if you have a cold or whatever. And
Mhm.
if you're an athlete and you sprain your ankle, you'll go to the training room and they'll put you through a rehab assignment or whatever it is. But navigating the system is hard. It's
Very
hard for
scary.
anybody, and especially for somebody who's kind of removed from it, because athletes are removed from it because they want to make sure you're getting the care that they need you to get. And it's very different than the care that outsiders get.
It is not only for a regular person navigating through and I have to be very specific, the US healthcare system.
True. Sorry.
They don't no, I mean, like, just
Yeah.
even
No, you're right.
internationally or something, but when it comes to the US healthcare system, that's like a subject for another day, but no one teaches you except for your parents, and half the time, some of your parents don't even know what to do. What if you came from overseas? I say it was a great gift to have athletes live at my house. Over the summer, they were part of an unofficial G League here in the Bay, and I had 3 girls staying with me, and one of them happened to be from Africa. She did not know what to do outside of college. She kept having a lot of issues, and she didn't know what to do, and it was either you have your parents or you have your coach to rely on, and when that safety net is gone, then what do you do? For most kids after 26, you're off your parents' insurance. Well, mom, who's going to schedule my blood work and who's going to, call the dentist for me and all that? So just navigating that, and we have webinars that are around it. And also when you think about the mental health services, when you're looking around, you have to know that you may not make it. So we have a webinar coming up next month called the Undrafted series, how to mentally prepare for that. The draft is coming up
Mhm.
this weekend just for the NFL. We just had one for the WNBA. And not only that, we have, I think her name is Natasha Cloud and one other person that are veterans that are still inside. And you're sitting
Mhm.
there like, "Oh, what's going on?" So not only dealing with regular healthcare, but mental health services. What are the resources? They always say, "Oh, call someone, call," but you need to talk to someone professionally and have those resources available for these people that are in high stress situations. To them, some of them, this is an outlet for them to get their families out of a bad situation, potentially.
Well, and it's interesting because right now there are a lot of not only barriers to getting mental health services, but there's just not enough due to education, loan forgiveness, whatever. People are choosing not to necessarily be mental health care providers. So the people that are available are getting slammed, and then as well as, or they're bouncing out because it's way too much for them to take on, and they're risking their own health and safety by
Yeah.
listening to everybody. And so it's interesting because I know a few people that are really struggling to find a healthcare provider because they may not be in the right system, or you're left to your own devices. And if you don't understand the system, sometimes it's difficult to get the referral or to do whatever you need to do. And this also runs for people if you have your own business.
Right.
Nobody's out there trying to teach you how to get healthcare for yourself and what it looks like. So there's a lot of different struggles. So let me ask you a question. So how can athletes get involved in this conversation? Because if I'm going to college, then I may not really understand or have time for it. So how do we make it more important and bridge that gap for them so that they are receiving the services or at least having an understanding about the services available?
I mean, honestly, of course, I'm only one company. We have to start the initiative to infiltrate every single college, and not only just colleges, make it almost a requirement to have some sort of event activation, implementation, a government standard where people can apply for this. And when I say people, public entities can apply to help provide a event, a health fair, something that they can know, all right, this is what's available to me. Not only just mental health services, but other things. So one of the initiatives that I have is be able to have a comprehensive physical. Comprehensive physicals, every kid has to get one. And in that, and normally when you get a physical, you just go there, tell the doctor, I'm about to play soccer. Can you sign this paper?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't go beyond that. Doctor doesn't educate you, doesn't say anything. Where are you going? May ask where you're going to call. Oh, you're going to Penn State. That's great. You're going to football, whatever. Where does it begin where you can actually insert said services? That's one avenue. The other one will be in schools. We always had the auditorium and we would do something where you would learn. And like, we need to have more places where there will be government grants available for nonprofits or potentially for profits to come in and help educate the kids. Then also doing something where, you know what, parents are working, let's do a webinar. They do webinars for college services, for saving for college. But this is just as important because if you don't have a body, you're not going to go to college. So it's just offering these things. And there's a lot that are out there. I know a lot of other companies that offer this as well. But I am instituting a college tour where we'll go ahead and do that. But then somebody said, no, you got to hit the seniors because they're getting money now before that. So we really need to say something then and letting them know these are the services that are available. And to your point, you know what? The hairdresser also needs her hair done. So these mental health professionals and stuff and people getting burned out, I do not like to refer people to AI. There's other alternatives. And then also just letting them know that there are, if you get to that point where you're like, I've been trying, and that this was my only way is to end it all, there are always people that are on staff to talk about that. Now, there's clinics available, just giving them the resources. We should send that out. They always send out a bulletin about events that are happening. So we're just trying to make sure because there's so many things in the world, but I think it's very important when it comes to student services that these coaches, athletic directors specifically, start talking about it to their athletes. Hey, after this, just know, post it here if there's anything that they can do. I don't know how bogged down they are. I know that they're really not bogged down as much as a physician. And that's why physicians have admin staff and this and this. But when you have a team, you have an athletic director, you have other people in place, they can start posting that. And I think that maybe pushing it towards a federal level, a legislative level to incorporate that they have, there's always wage stuff in a place. They should post this stuff up here.
Yeah, that would make sense. And I know before it was always about the athletes that had made it. And I think LeBron was probably the first one where everybody went, holy crap, he's really, really young. He's going to come into a lot of money. And how do we deal with this? And the NBA was a little delayed, but they got themselves together and started assigning financial advisors for guys so that they would spend their money a little bit better and smarter. I don't know if it's available for every athlete or just the ones that are signing the big contracts, but, there was a responsibility that the NBA felt because I think that's really the only league, basketball, maybe a little hockey, where you can go from high school into it. Like for the NFL, you can't really go from being a high school player into the NFL. You'll get crushed. But there's other sports where you can just leave high school and go right into it. And so I feel like those leagues kind of need to lift up and do the right thing because you are dealing with 18-year-olds or possibly 14-year-olds because, if you're picking somebody at 18, you're probably looking at them when they're 14. And so there should be a package, right? There should be this care package almost of like, this is what you're looking at. And maybe agents need to look at that too, where it's like, I'm not only going to take care of you because you're good, but we're going to make sure that you put your money away because NAL has changed it. They're trying to, they let the, toothpaste out of the tube already with the amount of cash that these kids are seeing. But somebody has to take some kind of responsibility because I feel like there's going to be a backlash.
Yes, I'll roll it back. So I can tell you because I'm affiliated with every single league's alumni. And when, let's just say, a person is done, they retire, they make it mandatory. The NFL, for example, for 2 years, you go through their financial literacy program. With the NBA, they have that too. It should be
before, not after.
And that's the thing. Now, I've never taken the course. I can tell you whenever I've gone in corporate and they say you have to take this, your quarterly stuff. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'll go click, 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 click because I just want to get
through it.
And I feel like they're doing that because if it actually was effective, then half of the guys that I deal with wouldn't be broke. Now, again, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Now, the fact that they have done it, maybe they've spoken to the people and they're just really, really bad with money. Not everybody's going to be as smart as Shaquille O'Neal or be an analyst like Charles Barkley. That's not open to everybody. Or like Tom Brady. Not everybody's going to be those individuals, but they do offer the services. The fact that it's really not mandated, I think, is a problem. Once they get to that point, when I deal with them, once they've been through, I say the system, on average, guys that have been retired for 5 years, and I approach them with a financial advice. Oh, no, 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 no. This other guy tried to steal money from me. And they all have stories of somebody coming in, being a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Or their own family.
Yes. Well, it's, that's the whole thing. You can't take care of the whole hood. Okay. You can't take care of everybody. And just keeping that in mind. And I keep saying to all of these other NIL brands, I let them know that my company is an add-on. I'm not trying to take anything from you. I'm an add-on, because every time I ask them, what do you offer any of your clients? None of them say structured healthcare. None of them say healthcare literacy. And I said, that's where I am filling in that gap, because at the end of the day, if they don't listen to you, we're going to have a series of between 21 to 25-year-olds that in the future will be bankrupt, because they're going to go through this money, or they have some sort of issue that they can't do this anymore, and their money didn't go very long. They just
$1 million doesn't go as far as we think it is anymore.
I mean, if you give me a perfect day, I can probably blow that in a day. But that's just me thinking like wild. And I don't even know what these other kids, when you look at Instagram and TikTok and the way that these people live, and it's like, okay, now they're just throwing, no, endorse this, we'll put you on a plane in this, and they get addicted to the lifestyle, and they'll do anything to keep up with that lifestyle. And that is a type of pain that you really can't see. That's another invisible illness.
Right. Well, so looking back at their health, I mean, and I don't know if the numbers have changed. I know the NFL, the average career was 3 to 5 years. Are we still looking at those numbers where they're pretty low in terms of your moment to shine?
Yes. I have an individual that I think he's 24. He was with the Oakland Raiders. And then right before the Super Bowl, because he was dropped by the Oakland Raiders, he was there for almost 2 years. And he was picked up by the Patriots. Thought, okay, great. All I need is I would be perfectly fine if I get this ring. Of course, Patriots didn't win. And now he's out of the league, and he's a fantastic individual, and he's reinvesting in himself with other products because he didn't want to make football his thing. And there's other individuals that are just like that. It's still 3 to 5 years. And even with these really, really big contracts, it's only if you're very well known. If you're somebody that's on there and you're second string, guaranteed, you're not going to ride that very, very long. And I hate to say sometimes the NFL means not for long.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a brutal sport, and I've talked to guests about CTE and the things that people are experiencing, and we're hearing about it again because there are some guys that are getting their worlds rocked because they've been playing since they were little kids. And, when you're on your 20th concussion, eventually, you can't unscramble those eggs, and that's a problem for them. And how do you live your future if you can't remember when you have appointments, or you're dealing with, oh, I forgot to pick up my kid, or, things, you walk into a room and you're 25 years old and you forgot why you came into the room, kind of stuff. And that's a big, I think, scary possibility. And then, of course, in your situation, dealing with autoimmune disorders and other things that you may not know, you may feel something and say, oh, it never felt right or whatever. And then you get diagnosed and then find out this is going to be a long-term thing that I have to manage. And how do I do that if I don't have any money, or if, again, I don't know how to navigate the system?
And it is, people forget. And I love that you said that. Kids usually start in Pee Wee League, especially when it's baseball, basketball, football. And you start when you're 5 or 6. Now, in terms of boxing, you have to think about it. They're not boxing every single day, and they usually don't start at 5 years old. And when they do, they're not really going at it. So the amount of time, or use Muhammad Ali as an example, he has Parkinson's disease. Well, had Parkinson's disease. That's another form where, you forced that to happen. Now, when it comes to football, and they're oh, well, he's only 32. And again, to my point, yeah, but his body is 62, and his brain is probably 90 right now, because of the amount that it has been, I guess, subjected to. And the movement now more towards flag football, because that's a no contact sport in a sense where you're taking someone out. And also there's other things that happen, even with basketball. When you take an elbow to the head, there's a kid that passed away a few months ago, a college kid. I wish I could remember his name right now. But if you remember, it hit the headlines and no one really paid attention to him. He wanted to go back into the game. When you're in a car, you could see the check engine light. You're like, something ain't right, but I don't know what it is. Now, for us, our check engine light is internal. We have to say something's not right. And then sometimes kids want to be a part of the game and be like, I made this happen. And they'll put that before their actual health. And we have to, as adults, tell them to sit down. Don't let the coach say, oh yeah, put him back in. They put that kid back in. He's no longer home. He didn't go back home to his parents. After the game was over, he was sitting over to the side. No one said anything. He got on the bus, slumped over. Nobody said anything. All those times, he's a college student. You're an adult. There's an athletic director. The onus is on that staff. And that's where we have to also institute the healthcare part. There's some kind of protocol, like something happened, they have to sit. You know, he's your best shooter. It's points over patience. We don't want to do that.
Yeah. And I was just telling someone a story about when I was helping with a wrestling team. And one of the kids from the opposing team got slammed down on the mat. And he was outside and he's puking in a can and looks horrible. And I'm with him. And I'm trying to talk to his parents and saying, like, I think he's done. You may want to go to the hospital because this doesn't look very good. And the coach is like, he's fine. Let's go. And they brought him back in. Okay. Not my kid, not my school. I guess, you guys know what's best. Like, that's kind of scary. But, that boy clearly had a concussion. And if it happened, again, sometimes it's just the angle. Sometimes it could be repetitive. You never know with what you're dealing with. And sometimes it's better to be safe. But now there's so much on the line for these schools that children are a commodity. And that's kind of the origin of the NIL, right? Was the fact of that you're using my likeness, you're using my skill to benefit the college. And why aren't I getting this money? But now it's kind of shifted where, they are getting the money and then I'm getting the money and then, whoever's
everybody's
getting the money.
But who is actually benefiting? You're benefiting your pocket. You're not benefiting longevity. It's not even just the colleges. Think about, I went to school near St. Joe's. And that's a very prestigious private school. These private schools now, when you talk about anything with money and they have donors, they're always, oh, well, yeah, you're a former alumni, give back and blah, blah, blah. And you know why? Because we have a winning record. And that's also another tie. You're selling tickets and everything. So I honestly, more so with basketball, and I could say that because viewership is down, it is more of a marketing ploy than the actual sport anymore. More of marketing dollars, like you said, and everybody's trying to get their cut. And hence why no one's paying attention to, they're just shuffling you in. All right, we got you, using you. All right, we're done. And fade back out. Who's the new one? We already have like 10 other people that was ready to replace you. And that's it. And nobody's caring about the kids. And then whatever happens to you, happens to you. You're the NFL, you got 5 years of healthcare. You better figure it out before those 5 years are over. In the NBA, you don't even get that. In the NHL, it's even less. MLB is like one of the same things.
Right. Olympic athletes get nothing.
Yeah. And they have to, nobody knows how much you have to fundraise. You have to be almost rich or make sure, your parents have put their house up for sale if you're going to compete in the Olympics, because they don't know how much it takes. You have to pay for the uniforms and then the practices, and it's a whole nother ballgame. And then don't even get me started about F1. You better be a millionaire.
Right. Yeah. Well, clearly it's elite. Who watches it is very elite, right? Not everybody can fly to Monte Carlo for the weekend to watch a race.
I'm trying,
or Dubai
I'm putting that in the atmosphere, Dana. All right. Like, don't kill my hopes and dreams. I want to be on a yacht.
Yeah. But even to get started, like when they're in their, quote unquote Pee-wee league, right, where they're doing kart racing and stuff like that. A lot of those F1 kids they're in Monaco or they're in Europe somewhere, right? Trying to get the skill because they need to get name recognition, because that's the way you get brought up. And it's very rare for an F1 driver to be over 40.
Oh, yeah. I just really, last year we dove headfirst into F1, and I was talking, he was an F7 driver. He's 16 years old. and he is young black male. And I was happy to see him. He was very well poised. And then I spoke to another individual who was about his age, and they told me, and they were like, "It's about $1 million." And I'm like, okay, so my kids can't do that because I am. And then just the rigorous training. And when it comes to health, people don't even realize, unless you watch the videos, you're a really avid F1 person, how much it takes physically. You're
Physically,
just like,
right.
oh, you're driving. It's not a truck driver, okay, dude? You're taking turns. You're
You're
doing
fighting G's.
this. Yes. And I know when I was going with I have 3 kids, and we went go-karting, and I was coming around those curves, and I'm like, oh my God, why am I so winded? I'm taking those curves, like taking them out, like mommy's gonna win. And I was like, mommy's also getting winded. Yeah, I can feel it. And then like just with the hands, because I have a lot of problems with my hands, and I'm like the vibrations from that. I can just imagine doing that every single day, all day.
At 200 plus miles per hour for 4
Yeah.
hours or however long a race can be.
And there's a lot of health and breathing, and you have to be in tip top shape. You just can't, have you seen any like oversized F1 drivers? Not just
Mm-mm.
for the car, but just in general.
Right. Yeah. No, it's I mean, a lot of them cycle to stay in shape because cycling is a good sport for that kind of cardiovascular fitness that you need. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's no joke to ride that stuff, to drive that stuff, and also just the pressure. Talk about mental health, the pressure for that, because really, F1 is what, 20 guys?
Mhm.
That's it.
Of the elite, of the top.
You have to be the elite of the elite to be
Mhm.
recognized to do it. And when you're down to F2, F3, right? There again, but it's all very short. And you think about baseball, it's the same thing, right? There's 30 something teams, thousands and thousands of kids every year play baseball, and there's only, a couple hundred that will end up making it to the majors.
Mhm.
So there is a lot of that pressure on everybody. That definitely, due to expense as well as the mental health aspect of it. I mean, you got to be a little nutty, and I don't think it's a great place to stay in terms of athletics, because, you want to be able to have good relationships and solid people around you. When you're putting that kind of pressure on yourself, it's hard to be around somebody when they're freaking out like that all the time.
It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot mentally. It's a lot physically. And it goes across all sports right now, and not even, I have my business partner, her sons are in lacrosse. I hardly ever, but she tells me how much skill. And I was like, I remember I played it in high school because we had to do like every single sport. And I was
Hmm.
going like this and keeping the ball in there. That's a lot. Then you're running. Then you have soccer. God bless the soccer players. I can't run up and down the entire time. You have to be really physically fit for that. Everything takes where you are physically fit. However, we're doing an esports division. Esports goes all into mental health too. It's
Hmm.
not the physicality except for, just burn out your thumbs, but that is a very strong mental sport.
But it's also a culture too, because there
Mhm.
is that culture of the energy drinks and the
Oh yeah.
not so great for you snacks and the not moving, right? Like, you need to stay in your chair for however long it takes. There are no breaks. There's no time, right? Of saying
There's
like,
no
oh,
pausing. And
yeah, right.
trust me,
It's
I
not a
know.
20-minute half or something like that. Like,
Mhm.
you can be there for a long period of time. And I don't think that that's any different.
No, it's different in the physical sense where you're not like hurting yourself, but you are hurting yourself. The amount
Right.
of time where my son is like, "All right, I'll be down for dinner," and then I'm looking at the time like that. You said that 2 hours ago. Did you even pee? Did you even go to
Right.
the bathroom?
Yeah, the
Are
mental
you
health
holding it?
strain on that and the physical stuff is just unreal.
And that's just like, that's another thing. So I want to make sure with Beyond the Game Health, we touch every single aspect, and it's not just isolated to the top 3 in America, but every single sport, even when people don't deem certain things as sports, like, oh, gymnastics, that's just an Olympic sport. No, to get to the Olympics, again, it takes a lot. And you're doing that in college and you get a scholarship for it all around. But everybody has to remember, they're always thinking of these people when they see them on TV, they're like gods. And I said, yeah, but they're gods, but they're deteriorating on the inside.
Mhm.
So we
Right.
have to remember that. And they don't have access to the best healthcare. Private insurance, they really, you would think that they do. They really don't. Private insurance is usually with your employer. Your employer happens to be the NFL. Unless you're working on corporate, you really don't have the best of the best.
Yeah. And even we know that if lose a job or change jobs or whatever and you get Cobra, not everybody can afford
Oh, Cobra's
$900 a
ridiculous.
month just for themselves. And
Yeah,
definitely not a college kid that's just graduated.
they wouldn't even know. They're like, "Cobra, snake.
Right.
Like,
They don't,
what
yeah,
is this?"
nobody would kinda get it.
Yeah, and, like, I've, heard of what happened, or if you're on Medicare, Medicaid, or if you're in California, it'd be Medi-Cal, and New Jersey, it would be New Jersey Cares, like, every single state, they need to know that. Then also, you can put into supplemental insurance. So something like an Aflac that is, if they can deviate just a couple dollars, and when I say a couple dollars, it could be something that's $20, because now they do the, payments instead of whenever they're playing, they get paid, now they get paid throughout the year. And so
Mhm.
they can just put away $20. So just in case if something were to happen, you already have, not only if you have state insurance, because in Florida they don't have disability insurance, but if your state has disability insurance, you can pick up disability. Then you can also, once you put into Aflac, you can pull from that. It can help you in so many different ways. Also, if you are the breadwinner and your wife, or vice versa, they're out and you know what, they weren't working. Now you can pull from that. Those family emergencies, people need to know that supplemental insurance is a thing. It doesn't have to be Aflac. There's other companies out there, but look into it and put that a part of it, because you put away for your 401k for your retirement, but are you putting away for your health?
That is fantastic advice. Well, Shamekka, thank you so much for sharing your perspective and chatting with us today. Before we wrap up, like, how can people get in touch with you and what do you have coming up next?
But they can write it in the sky. They can come to my house. No, no, no. On all socials, I'm known as Pretty Sick Lupus Chick, or down there, you can hit Shamekka Marty on LinkedIn. You can find me pretty much anywhere. Check out beyondthegamehealth.com. That is my website for my company. And just look out, because every single thing, except for this weekend, I'm pretty much at every single activation that's coming up on board. But I will be at the NBA draft next.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.